Hey now, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of IoT Nuggets with IoT Group. I'm Doug Cohen from M10 Social. I'm joined in the middle of the screen at this point by my illustrious co-host, Mr. Steve Brummer from IoT Group. Steve.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
everybody. And we are joined today by Mr. Geoff Weathersby of Protiviti. Geoff is the director of IoT. And Geoff, I must say, well, first of all, welcome to the show, Geoff.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
Good to have you. And I must say, I think the Protiviti website is really cool. I did a little research a little homework before the show, and I noticed how the menu is along the left-hand side. It kind of has the feel of like you're right into an app type of scenario. So I thought that was pretty cool, very unique. Thanks everybody for joining. BHIOTgroup.com is the BHIOT Group website, and you can reach out to Steve and John Hubler and the rest of the group there to talk about your IoT deployment, how to bring it to market. And you can go to Protiviti.com to get in touch with Geoff and the team over at Protiviti. And having said that, we're going to talk a little bit about what you folks are doing in the IoT space. I am going to pass it on to Steve so the two of you can chat about it. Gentlemen?
Excellent. Thanks, Doug. Very nice to have you, Geoff. We've wanted you on the IoT Nuggets event for a while, so this is great to have you. Can you give an elevator pitch on Protiviti and your IoT practice, please, so people understand who you are and what you guys do?
Sure, Steve. Appreciate it. Glad to be here, and it's awesome to be doing this. So thank you for the time. Protiviti is a management consulting company that we specialize in technology consulting. I'm working in director for IoT Group, where we focus most of our time helping companies, basically, identify gaps, challenges, capabilities, and policy strategies, solutions. Basically fill in the gaps where they're struggling to implement IoT and making sure that they get the results that they're looking for in a cost-effective manner, as well as to be able to measure success when they come out of it. Protiviti, cool thing, I was going to say, what we've got with Protiviti that's kind of neat is being a wholly owned subsidiary of Robert Half, we're able to bring the traditional consulting angle to this with traditional management consulting, but also to leverage the capabilities and strengths of Robert Half, to have the boots on the ground to help deploy and manage and monitor some of that IoT that you have to have that balance technology as well as real world deployments.
So what are some of the biggest challenges your customers and clients have when deploying solutions? What are you helping them most with?
So most of our clients, the challenges that we face with them and work with them to help succeed is really around scalability, sustainability, security, and defining and measuring success of that IoT platform.
So when you talk about security, we had the executive order come out from the White House a couple months ago. Cybersecurity obviously is hot. We still continue to see abuses and penetrations of bad people into companies, especially around IoT. So what are some of the things that Protiviti is doing to help companies feel more comfortable about doing IoT deployments and doing it in a secure manner?
Sure. So that May 12th executive order around cybersecurity was a little bit of a wake-up call, as their focus, especially with a lot of the recent security breaches that we've had, is really turning towards IoT. And for a long time, IoT has been the wild, wild west of, we'll figure it out when we get there. They're just IoT devices. They're out there. It's fine.
Right.
And this is really about turning and creating standard policies and really starting to try to hold companies and deployments accountable for the security breaches that they are potentially exposing data as well as other networking access to as these devices are out there. Protiviti is helping clients, really identify where their gaps are in the policies and procedures they have, understanding what the implications of that cybersecurity executive order are, as well as some of the other previous IoT law that came out, and this guidance that's coming out as well, on how to better manage not only the deployment, but then throughout the life cycle of those IoT devices to ensure that they are secure. And one of the challenges with that, an example is They're looking at bringing a software bill of materials requirement to when you're selling to the federal government, which means any device you sell and gets deployed to the federal government, you've got to provide literally a BOM, a software bill of materials, like you would do for hardware, but for software. So what licenses, what open sources, what are all the versions of firmware that is in that device that gets deployed? And do that at the device level. If you're pushing out an over-the-air firmware update, you're going to have to regenerate those the software BOM and resubmit that to be so that there's traceability to know, hey, we found that there's a particular vulnerability in this microchip in this version of the firmware. That ideally, that the federal government or whoever's the end client would be able to go and look and see what devices they have deployed that is actually using that version for that piece of equipment and where that is. And so that traceability, when you're talking about millions of devices deployed, individual bill of materials, is a meaty lift. And how to handle that in an economical and efficient way is something that's going to be a challenge moving forward.
We're hearing a lot of talk about 5G and IoT. Is that something that is impacting your business and your customers? Are they asking you questions about it? What do you say to them about 5G and IoT? Or, we don't want them to stop deploying, right? We don't want them to wait till this stuff is available. So, how are you handling 5G?
5G is great. There's one piece is it's popular. It's something that people understand. It's tangible right now that you're seeing all the marketing dollars spent behind the advertising for smartphones and for the consumer uses for it. From an IoT standpoint, a couple things that really are going to make a difference. One is that 5G and 4G LTE play so well together that long term, what you're deploying today with the Cat 1 LTE solutions, they're going to be supported for a long time to come. So no, the answer is you shouldn't stop doing what you're doing today. That a lot of what you're doing, the promise of 5G, you can deploy today with 4G and migrate as that comes along. The real advantages for 5G for an IoT standpoint, when you're starting to look at the massive scale, you're looking at the super low latency, which you'll need for things like real-time, if you want to be flying drones remotely, real-time surgery when you're controlling robotics or autonomous vehicles that you're looking through this. Or when you're talking about needing to have that super low latency or the scalability to have millions of devices on a very dense, compact network on there. Those are coming down the roads. There's going to be enhanced security around 5G when we get to the full standalone deployments. That this is a great time for companies to be looking at what will the next 2 to 3 years of the technology rollout as 5G becomes more established and more mature, both on the endpoint side of what you can buy and use, as well as on the network side of what you can deploy, whether the private networks, whether there's a hybrid of it, whether it's the base stations for the millimeter wave, ultra high bandwidth needs for it. Those are coming. That you've got individual pieces out now. You're starting to see some test deployments. You're really going to see the next 2 to 3 years some massive deployments with that. So it's a great time that you don't have to be worried that what you have been doing with 4G LTE is still going to be valid and is going to be viable for the next, probably till 2030 at least on there. I hate to say decade because
you don't want to commit to that, Geoff.
No, you don't. But it's there's some great things. Dynamic spectrum sharing DSS, which is really cool. That the same hardware allows you to, or same network hardware allows you to have 4G and 5G at the same time. Really gives confidence that what you're putting out in the field is going to be able to be supported and operated for a very long time, which is great.
Awesome. Well, Geoff, thank you very much for those tidbits of information about Protiviti and how you're handling the networks and the program. That was great. That's exactly what we try to do here on IoT Nuggets, is get people quick 5-6 minutes of information to be able to better understand you and what you do and get your thoughts on it. So thank you so much for joining us.
All right, appreciate the time, Steve. Thank you, Doug.
Excellent. Doug, back to you.
Thank you very much, Steve, and thanks, Geoff, for that insight. Very interesting stuff to hear your take on where 5G is going to impact the IoT space. I thought that was pretty cool. And thank you all for tuning in to this episode of IoT Nuggets. If you are a subject matter expert or you have a company that's playing in the IoT space as well, reach out to us, connect with us on LinkedIn, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And we'd love to have you on the show. And with that said, thanks, everybody. Thanks, gentlemen. We'll see you on the next episode of IoT Nuggets.
You got it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.